Hi y'all, this is Regina with Regina's Crafting and More. I'm going to be test stitching this mug rug. This particular mug rug has the decorative fill only in the center and nothing on the side, so you can use your pretty fabric and not have it being stitched on. So let me get to the machine and get started. Alright, so got the machine, got my 5x7 hooped with no-show stabilizer, or the Soft and Stay by Pellin. And I've got a bobbin with white thread in it, my white bobbin thread, and I need a top thread. Alright, so your first actual stitch for the mug rug itself is the decorative fill. And I'm just going to put in a light color. I don't want it to be too dark. I've got a gold fabric, white fabric that's going to go down there. And remember, when you do these decorative fills or background stitches, whatever you want to call them, they do get darker. So always go with your lightest color. You know, if you've got a yellow, go with the lightest. I'm doing the decorative fill is kind of a tan. This is a really light tan. Alright, so the first color stop is going to stitch a placement for your background fabric. Now this is going to be applique on the turkey. The turkey feathers are actually footballs, just like the embroidered block done in the fill and the embroidered block done as an applique. This is the mug rug. Alright, so I'm going to, oh my goodness. Wow, just barely made that back and my needle came out. Heavens to Betsy. Ouch. Let's see if I can get it back in there. Okay, I'm going to have to cut the threads. I can't do this. There it is. Alright, let's get that up there. And man, this is tough when you put the needle in. There's my little screwdriver thing. Alright, now let me get it threaded. Sorry about that. Alright, so I have a bigger piece than I need. With batting. I need batting. Sorry. Color stop number 2 is for the batting. Hang on. Alright, so I've laid my batting down. Color stop number 2 is going to tack it down. Oh boy, is it just barely big enough. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this extra off, leave enough for me to trim after we finish. Alright, now color stop number 3 is going to stitch where your center fabric goes. You're going to put your fabric covering that center placement stitch. Okay, and you're going to stitch color stop number 4. going to trim this off down here so I don't have all this extra fabric. Okay. And color stop number 5 is going to do the decorative fill. It's just a cross hatch that it's going to do. And it's going to do it all in the center. Nothing is going to be stitched on the side panels. And I'll be back. Alright, so you can see it left an opening in the center. That's for the little design. So color stop number 6 is going to stitch a placement for you to put your side panels. It actually is just going to go right along here, but I'm going to stitch it so you see that's the line you need to line up your side panels on. Alright, so you're going to put your side panel down and you're going to lay it on top of the centerpiece and then align the edge over here. Okay, and you want to make sure you have enough up here to cover the seam allowance and that it's long enough to cover the seam allowance at the bottom. Okay, so now it's going to stitch color stop number 7, which is your seam line. And it stitches it down a couple of times to secure it, because we're going to be turning it over and turning it inside out and everything. Okay, and you want to tape it down if I can find. So I use this tape from Amazon. It's called micro pour paper tape. It's very inexpensive, and okay, so let me trim this fabric. Hold on just a second. So since I have 2, I'm going to trim this off right here. I could have done this in half and should have cut that in half. So let's see here. Fold this in half. And it goes way out. Let's see. Yeah, I got enough seam allowance here. So let me, well, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it because I'll cut it off when I trim it up. So I'm just going to, I'll end up having some that I can use some other time. All right, so we're going to put the, we're going to stitch the other placement line. You know, once you get the hang of this, you don't even need to stitch this placement line. You can skip it and go to the tack down, but this is going to stitch color stop number 8, which is the placement line for the other side panel. Alright, so I'm going to make sure I have enough at top, and I'm going to take the fabric edge and line it right up against the line that just stitched. Okay, so the fabric actually lays on top of the center panel. Okay, now it's going to stitch the seam allowance. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to trim this fabric to right to the edge of my fabric that I've got for the top panel. All right, put that to the side, and we're going to flip it over. Now I have what's called a fabric folding pin, if I can find it, and it has this liquid that you put in it, and you give it a little squeeze, and then you just go along the edges and it dampens the edges and helps you get a good crease without an iron. So you dampen the edge, and then just make sure that you've got it completely folded over and crease it down really well. So I'm going to give it a little squeeze, and it dampens that seam stitch. Tap on, and I'm going to turn this over and make sure that seam is all the way back. I've got a fold right here. There we go. And crease it with my thumbnail. All right. So now this is going color stop number 10 is going to stitch the first part of your actual design that you're going to do for applique. This is going to be really tiny. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm not a real fan of applique anyway. Alright, so it's going to stitch the shirt. Placement stitch for the shirt. So I need some fabric for the shirt. You can put any color you want for the shirt. Just remember, you're going to have some brown stitching on the sides. You're going to have text, and you're going to have a collar area. So I'm just going to use, you know what? Well, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm going to stitch this down because I want to see what it's like cutting this. Okay, so it's going to stitch the outline of the shirt on top of your fabric. This will just give everything the same height because you're going to be doing an applique on the football feathers. All right, so now you want to trim this out. Oh my goodness. All right, so if I can do it, you can do it. All right, so I've got a good sharp pair of scissors. Get in there and get that, turn it. And you want to get right against the seam line, okay? So you need either some of those titanium snips or a really good pair of applique scissors. Now we got to get down into that neck of that collar. Okay, and I'm going to go this way with it on this side. Get rid of that, and I've got a little piece here that I need to get into for that shirt indents. If you hold your fabric up, I always say this, hold your fabric up vertically, and it helps you to get right up against the seam allowance. And I'll show you here in a second. Because you want to be right up against, not seam allowance, the stitch line. You want to be right up against that stitch line. All right, so see how it got right up against the stitch line? All right, keep that back. All right, so the first color stock for the football feathers is color stock 12, and it's going to stitch your placement line for your first fabric. Now it's going to stitch the feather on this side and this side. Okay, so that's a placement line. And this is the other placement line. Now when we get ready to stitch, we're going to stop the machine after it stitches down the first color stock for the first feather. So I'll show you here in just a second. All right, so we're going to lay our fabric here. You want to make sure you're overlapped. And we're going to stitch. When it finishes stitching this tack down, we're going to stop the machine. It's going to come over here, and I'm going to stop the machine. Okay, we're going to take it off, raise the foot, and we're going to trim out that little piece. Okay, so hold your fabric up to get right up against that line. going to put the fabric over on this side. You want to make sure you're overlapped. And we're going to press go on the same color stop, which is 13. This is the tack down of your applique fabric. And we're going to trim this out. Hold your fabric up with your fingers. Go around, and I'll show you when I get finished. Go right up against the stitch line. You don't want to have any fabric sticking out, so use those points and get right up against the stitch line. If you cut it, don't worry. Alright, so let me show you. Okay, like that. Alright, so now we're going to the next feather. We're going to stitch the placement line. So I have a different color fabric for this. So we're going to put this over here. Let's turn it this way. And we're going to stitch color stop 15. When it finishes stitching this piece down, we're going to stop it, because if you have a piece that goes all the way across, then it makes it difficult for you to cut. Okay. All right, so we're going to stop that. Raise the foot, take it out, and trim off the fabric. All right, now we're going to take the other side and place it down here. Put it back on. We're still on color stop 15 now, and it's going to stitch. Make sure you're covering it all. Okay, and it's going to tack this. Oops. Tack this fabric down, and we're going to trim. So hopefully you're getting the hang of how this works now. You could measure these out and cut pieces to fit, and then lay them down and stitch them both at the same time. I can print a template. If you can't print a template, if you don't have software and you want a template, I will say this over and over again, and I'm not affiliated with them. You can go to Designs and Machine Embroidery, I think it's like Dime, and you can download and install Embroidery Toolshed, and you can use it free. It's limited on what you can do. You can print templates, you can watch it stitch on the screen, you can change colors to see how it's going to look in a different color. No, I didn't get this close enough, so I'm going to retrim right around this. Okay, so see how close I am? Alright, so you kind of get the drift now. And there's 2 more sets of feathers that have to be appliqued. Alright, so I'm going to do those and I'll be back. Alright, so now we have all the footballs stitched, appliqued. Now you need to put in your white fabric for color stop 20. And stitch the stitching on these footballs. back. All right, so we finished with the stitching on the footballs, and now we're going to outline the, do the satin stitching around each football. So you'll need a thread color to match the thread, the fabric that you used on each of the footballs. All right, so, and this just does the satin stitching around the footballs, each of them, or the football feathers, we'll call them. So there won't be any stitching on this side of the football because we're going to use yellow, or whatever color you used here, thread to do this football. And then this one, there won't be any here and there won't be any here. So each one stitches the outside on the first ones, and then, yeah, the top and the outside, the top and the outside. Okay, and it'll come over and do this one. Now, the actual stitching time on this is 39 minutes, but you're doing applique work, so you have to take it into account what that, how much time that adds. Alright, so I'm going to change to my next color, which is yellow. Come on, put it down here. So if any of you used Coats & Clark and you still have some, I've discovered, and it really stitches well for me. And I lost my little, oh, fiddly-dee. What happened to it? There it is. Bunch of them. Okay, so I wish I could still get them in the Mini Kings because there's so many colors that I really like. And the thread does stitch out well. You just have to remember, once it gets about halfway down, you have to put it horizontal. I usually use it vertical, but about halfway down, you have to put it horizontal. And I haven't given up trying to find it in the Mini King spools. Okay, so we're going to stitch the yellow footballs now. And I'll be back. Alright, so I'm doing the satin stitching on the last of the footballs. And you will notice that there's nothing, no satin stitching on the inside of this one, and there won't be any on the inside of that one. That's because the head and neck will stitch and cover up those raw edges. Alright, so we're getting ready to start color stock number 25. From here down, it's just the design. There's no applique or anything. You're just going to do your regular embroidery stitching and follow the color chart. And so this is going to do the head and the neck. Did I? Yes, the head and the neck. So you will see it come over and put some stitching there, and it'll put some stitching on the other side. So it'll cover up those raw edges. And I'll be back. Alright, I stitched the brown for the face and the neck, and now there's some white that stitches on color stock 26. That's for his eyes. Okay, so color stock number 27 stitches the top of his t-shirt. I'm going to stitch it in white. You can stitch it in whatever color you want. I've got it in as white, but feel free to change the color as you choose. Alright, so that satin stitch covers up the applique pieces really well. Alright, so now we're going to stitch the eyes, and they're in black. So if you've watched any of my videos, you know I detest stitching with black. So I always put in black bobbin along with the black top. And after talking to my baby lock guy about it, the issue with black thread isn't just with one manufacturer, it's with all of them. I forget what the reason is. So I have attempted to make all the black parts of my designs a little heavier to help compensate for that lack of density in the black thread. So I hope these eyes stitch out well. They stitched out well on the shirt, but as these get reduced and enlarged, things change, and I try to check them to make sure. But alright, so we're going to stitch the black of his eyes. This is color stock 28, and we're getting close to being done. Alright, color stock number 29 stitches some stitching up here around his the collar of his jersey. I'm going to stitch it in gold. I don't remember what I stitched it with on the embroidered block or the applique block, but this one's going to have gold stitching there, and it's just the stitching on his jersey. I guess this isn't gold. It's I don't know, between gold and real dark yellow. Whoops, I'm sorry. This is his feet. Oh, let's see, I need to change this. Sorry about that. I thought it was his shirt, but it's his feet. I don't want to stitch his feet gold. I'm going to stitch him this color. Glad I didn't start stitching. Alright, so this is doing his feet. Color stock number 29 is doing his feet, not his jersey. And I'll be back. Well, this is what happens when you forget to change your bobbin from black to back to white. You get this funny stitching highlights, but you know what? I think I kind of like it. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, I forgot to change the bobbin. But like I said, I think I kind of like it. Makes his feet look dirty. He's been scratching around in the hen yard. Alright, so before I do any more, I'm going to take this black bobbin out and put it away and put my white bobbin back in. Oh my goodness. I like the effect, but all right, so now we need to put in brown to do his feathers on the side and his belly. So I'm using the same brown that I did for his head. And you know what? I'm going, because of this brown, I haven't used this thread. I bought some new thread. I'm going to put in this bobbin that I wound. I think I used it for something else, but I don't remember how it did, but I'm going to use a colored bobbin on this. Brown and black, depending on where they come from, are about the same. I think this is Glide. Alright, so I've got that in, and this is going to stitch the outlining of the footballs around the stitching, and here and here and here. Didn't thread that. Okay, so I shrunk this down from an 8 by 8 to smaller than a 5 by 7, so it would fit in this mug rug. And each one of them that I changed, I had to go in and manipulate this line. So far so good. So I'll be back when it gets to stitching his belly area. Okay, so now it's starting on the feathers on the other side. So it's not quite finished doing the footballs. Alright, so it's already sewn down here and it's doing the side, I guess that's his wings on the side. I'll be back. Alright, so now we're back up here to the shirt, and I'm going to stitch that stitching on his jersey with gold. I'll be back. Alright, so the next color stop is for his beak, and my guy's going to have a yellow beak. And I'll be back. This is color stop 32. Alright, so now color stop 33 is going to stitch that little hangy downy thing. I don't know what it's called, but that's what's going to get stitched. Thread that needs to be trimmed. There we go. And I will be back. Alright, so my guy is going to have an orange helmet. You can do your helmet in whatever color you choose. There we go. This should have a non-stop stitch to do the facial part that goes along the face and the helmet. And I'll be back. Alright, so color stop number 35 is going to stitch the little piece right here, and I'm just going to do it in gold. And I don't know why I pulled the hoop off. It's late. I was off the computer and everything for a while and came back, so I wanted to finish this tonight. Alright, so we're going to stitch whatever that is in his helmet. Alright, so now it's going to stitch the word gobble. And what do I want to stitch that in? I think I'm going to do it in this. Maybe I'll do it in this. I'll do it in this. Here again, you choose your colors and make it your own. I would appreciate it if when you stitch it, you would post a picture in my group so we could see what you've been doing and share that with the other. Whoops, what happened? Around. There we go. All right, so this is going to stitch the word gobble. Sucked it down before I could grab it. And I'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to add the number, and I've already added it. It's at the end. I have to remember to come back to color stop number 37. Okay, so we're going to go down to the number. Oh, I haven't brought it back in yet. Shoot, okay. Turn, delete. So I have to bring it back in because I added it after I started stitching. So I'm going to have to bring it back in. There we go. And then I'm going to have to, whoops, cancel embroidery. I'm going to have to go all the way down. See, can I go up? There it is. So if you added it to the bottom, you can go up when you bring it back in. Now I'm going to stitch his number in orange, and it's 76, which is how old I am. So we have to go back up now, and I'm just going to keep backing up instead of going forward. I went up to go to the last step, and I'm going to go up again. Yeah, we're not finished, so we're going to go up, up, up. So we're going to go back to number 37. So it's going to stitch all the way around this mug rug. And you want to make sure, I'm going to put some tape on these edges because I believe it's going to go that way to stitch. And I don't want these edges to get caught up in the presser foot. Okay, so I'm taping them down with that paper tape. All right. So it really, at this point, it really doesn't make any difference what color you use to stitch this. We're getting ready to put on our back. But before we do, we have to stitch this all down. I just like to have that extra step. It helps reinforce everything, and I don't know, I tried it without it and I just like having this extra step. Alright, so we're going to stitch this, and it's going to tack the side panels down, and we don't have to worry about them. So I just smooth that side panel out. I've already taped this one, so I'm just going to hold it. Okay, and smoothing this back. So because I don't have any stitching over here, I have my pretty fabric on the sides. All right, so now we want to put our envelope style pieces on. I'll be right back. All right, so I have 2 pieces of fabric, 9 inches by 5 3/4. You want to fold them in half, and you want to put this fold up past the center. That's not right. Oh yeah, I forgot. I've got too much fabric over here. I was trying to line it up with that. All right, so it will go past the center. If you line it up, give you a little bit of fabric on the ends here for seam allowance. All right, and it will go past the middle mark of your hoop. Okay, so give yourself enough on the outside edge to overlap your seam allowance, okay? And make sure you're overlapping here too. All right, and you're going to be overlapping the other fabric. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see there's the top, the fold, and I'm overlapping that. All right, so now you want to tape these edges down all the way across. And go up onto your hoop just to make sure that you've got that edge covered up, because you don't want anything to happen to this now. You don't want that flopping over or anything. All right, so this is going to tack these 2 pieces down. I just need to make sure, yeah. Okay, so we're going to tack this down. So the last color stop is going to repeat that, except in a triple stitch, so that this does not come loose as you're flipping it out. I know it seems redundant, but trust me, you want to have that triple stitch, and it's right on the inside of the stitch that just stitched. I mean, 1/8 of an inch in. When this is done, we're going to go to the cutting table, and we're going to cut this back to 1/8 to 1/4. 1/8 would be good. And flip everything out. Should have taken all this tape off of that first inside piece that I taped down. I didn't do it, but we'll be able to get it off. All right, so we're done stitching. All right, so I unhooped And we're going to cut. We're going to use our ruler and line it up with that last line that's stitched. Now kind of in between. All right, and we're going to trim off all of our excess. Okay. Flip it around, line it up on all edges. You can line it up down here too. I'm going to trim this off. Okay. Line it up on the sides and line it up on the bottom. Come down in there and trim. Line it up on the bottom, line it up on the sides, and trim. If you missed a little spot, just trim it. We got to trim those corners back anyway, so all this tape. Oh my goodness, now it's stuck to my fingers. My arm. All right, so we're going to trim these corners. Let's come in here and go around and into that one. So we're going to come in, go around, and into that seam line. Got some extra little bits and pieces. All right, so I'm going to go in and trim and go around. Trim around. All right. So now we're going to turn this inside out. If we can get the tape off that I forgot to take off. It comes off easily. You just got to get, there we go. Okay. I have no fingernails. I took off my gel nails because of the reports that I saw on the TV about health issues it's causing, and I have too many. I don't need anything else that's going to cause me any autoimmune issues. All right, so we're going to take and turn everything out. Poke your finger in that seam, poke your finger in that round seam, push it through. All right. Finger in there, and this is one reason I really secure those last stitches. Okay. And I got some tape here I'm gonna have to pull off. All right, let's bring all this out. Now you want to roll your edges. Just roll it between your fingers and get it so that the back is on the back and the front is on the front. So just roll those back. If you need to get something and poke out your corners, do that. But by rolling these seams back, it gives you a nice front. You don't have any of that back fabric coming and peeking around. Okay. Sometimes I'll just do it like that. Okay, just to roll that seam back. More tape. Yeah, don't forget to take it off. All right, let me get a chopstick. Now poke that top fabric where it belongs. And get all that done. Roll that seam back. Go along that edge. Okay. You want the back fabric to be on the back, not on the front. right, so let me go press it. I'll be right back. And there you go. There's your Gobble football turkey mug rug. And there's the back. And you can put a piece of adhesive here and take that down real good. I don't ever mess with it. It doesn't, nothing ever happens. I got a thread. All right, so by rolling those seams back like this in your fingers, rolling them back or doing like that on your cutting surface, you don't have any of that back fabric that comes across, and you have a very neat mug rug. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Don't forget to post a picture on the group if you stitch these out. Thanks so much. Don't forget to like and share. Enjoy.